And high drama in a courtroom in Manhattan. Former President Donald Trump watching as his former lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen testifies against him. And good evening to you at 6 o'clock. I'm Liz Chow.
And I'm Bill Ritter. Michael Cohen once said he would take a bullet for Donald Trump. But today, he was the one taking aim at the former president and testifying for the prosecution.
He testified that Trump took a central role in inflating the value of his properties to save money and to also get better media coverage about his wealth.
Eyewitness reporter N.J. Burkett live at the courthouse in Lower Manhattan tonight with our lead story. Newt?
And Bill, we've been saying this since the start of the trial. Donald Trump does not have to be here, but he wasn't going to miss the opportunity to stare down Michael Cohen, their first face-to-face meeting in 5 years.
I'm looking forward to the reunion.
Michael Cohen seemed to relish the moment, the chance to take the witness stand against Donald Trump. In court, the former president leaned forward at the defense table, at times appearing to stare down Cohen. I was his special counsel, Cohen told the judge. Whatever issues he had, whatever created ire for him, he would bring it to me to resolve. Trump and his adult sons are accused of defrauding banks and insurance companies by wildly inflating his net worth and the value of his real estate assets to make deals and to get big loans. Cohen testified today that he and the company's former chief financial officer, Alan Weisselberg, were ordered to draft financial statements to justify whatever net worth Trump assigned himself. He would say, "I'm actually not worth $4.5 billion. I'm really worth more like $6," Cohen testified. His responsibility was to reverse engineer the various different assets classes, increase those assets in order to achieve the number that Mr. Trump had tasked us with. What number would that be, Cohen was asked. Whatever number Mr. Trump told us to, he said. Weisselberg testified 2 weeks ago that he cannot recall any meetings with Cohen and Trump to discuss Trump's net worth or financial statements. Regardless, the defense here has insisted that no one was deceived or defrauded and that Trump's bankers profited from the loans. Outside the courtroom, Trump blasted Cohen as a convicted felon whose testimony cannot be believed.
You see what his record is. He's not a credible witness, and so far he hasn't said anything that matters, but he is not a credible witness.
Cohen himself sought to downplay the drama.
This is not about Donald Trump versus Michael Cohen or Michael Cohen versus Donald Trump. This is about accountability, plain and simple.
On his way out of the courtroom, Cohen turned to reporters and said, quote, "Heck of a reunion." He may have been looking forward to the reunion, but he likely wasn't looking forward to the cross-examination. Testimony expected to resume here tomorrow.